Tonight, Drunk on Punk, and I don't want to give it away, but the second walkout in the history of Bar Rescue tonight on the AFTERBUZZ TV Bar Rescue After Show.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
But we do, kids. Oh my goodness, I'm hearing this theme song.
If you get in trouble,
Bring it home to me, unless you're drunk on punk and your name is Dave. I'm Keven Undergaro. And here we are for the AFTERBUZZ TV Bar Rescue After Show. An unbelievable episode. I was yelling at the TV from top of the episode to the end. Very strong feelings. I am with, thankfully, Dorinda and Gabby. Dorinda, what did you say to me earlier?
Oh, I said, he said, say this for the air. I said, made the pirates lady, because I just call her pirates, makes her look tame.
So we're seconds in, and we have our first pirates mentioned because it made her look tame. And then with you guys, in my opening, I said I don't want to give it away, but I did give it away. But, you know, we're an after show, so people have already seen the show. So it's okay. I can say those things. But, you know, I almost, God, about the walkout, we just have to ramp up to it because there was just so much. So, Gabby, I know you haven't seen Pirates yet.
Just clips of it.
Because you can't seem to find it online. But what were your thoughts general thoughts on Drunk on Punk or our buddy Dave?
Well, I think he has some serious issues with listening to authority or listening to people that have his best interests in mind.
I'm sorry, Gabby, because he's from the punk scene. Sorry, we don't listen to authority.
Yeah, and you know,
we're rebels, man.
John Taffer made a really nice reference that just because you're punk doesn't mean you're an a-hole. Right. I mean, this guy was a straight-up a-hole, didn't know how to treat people. Even his own staff he was rude to. So I wasn't on his side at all this entire episode, and I was just saying to myself on repeat, when is he going to walk out on them? When is he going to walk out on them? And he finally made the decision in, like, the last 5 minutes of the episode to walk out.
And the moment he even said after Recon, he goes, well, when he comes in here, he's going to fix it. And then when he leaves, I'm just going to turn it back. You ungrateful SOB. I'm being nice, by the way. But that's the way I felt about it.
He's definitely very entitled, Kevin.
I knew when we were in trouble when he said, I'm expecting John, at the very beginning, he said, John to make his own version of what I want. So I'm like, oh, we're screwed. We're screwed. And, you know, he, unfortunately, I feel like there's more people like him today. And there are even studies saying how 30 is the new 20 and 40 is the new 30 and 40 is even the new 25. And that can be taken in a positive way. So it's like, yeah, we're still young at heart, we're still fun and all that. But there's also a deeply negative side to it, which is just the fact that we have more and more children running around, you know, more and more, you know, when you're in your 20s, you're driven by your ego. We've talked about this before. And then hopefully that gives way to experience to make your decisions. And what happens is, for a lot of the people in our society today, their egos don't evolve past their teen years. And we're just seeing like that we're seeing tonight, that was just a man-child, just another, you know, I mean, listen, if we went to Comic-Con last week, and I'm the biggest comic book geek, I mean, not the biggest, but I have a really expensive collection I've been collecting since the 70s.
I mean, you have the Batman outfit.
Yes. So and as much as I'm into it, though, Dorinda, there's a lot of these guys running around down there, too, who are just as angry and miserable and overly opinionated, and the world screwed them, and they're right, and everyone's wrong, and it's just the childish behavior, and it's so indicative of our country, and unfortunately, and I felt so bad for John for having to deal with it, and I didn't think he would pull a plug, because I know he saves that. We've only had it pulled once on O-Face, but it's a tragedy because you could already tell that he was going to make it fucking amazing.
Yes.
Right? Didn't you get the feeling that this was going to be one of the best? This was going to be one of the best, because John came up in in the music thing. John came up at the Troubadour. I don't know if you know that, Gabby. But that was his first job. He was a bartender at the Troubadour, and then he took a step backwards and became a bar manager for less money, and that just started his whole career, and he was a former drummer. So, like, this was right in his sweet spot. So I was like, oh my God, he is going to crush this. He's going to make this the most amazing, like, cool rock and roll bar in East Long Beach.
Obviously, we love when he goes in and really does 180s on these places, but I personally think I would have been extremely disappointed if he did fix this place because of how ungrateful this dude was and how his ego was running everything and running people out. Plus the fact that he kept mentioning that he didn't have a kitchen, and I feel like that was his sole reason
Yeah, I just
to
wanna
get
get a
him in there.
kitchen,
He
man.
just wanted the kitchen.
To cook my dead mice.
That was it. That was it.
Oh, we'll get into that in just a second. But it goes back to, remember the Brixton, the bar, the Brixton? It was in Austin. John went in and he fixed the place. We were going to have the owner of that bar come in. Not come in, but speak to him, you know, as we do sometimes.
Right.
And when I talked to this guy, there was no way I could put him on with us because there's no way, I could have held myself back another time because it was almost like this guy. Well, I wanted him to do this, and so ungrateful for what Bar Rescue did for them. I couldn't believe Bar Rescue went in and put in that place over $90,000 worth of equipment, redid the whole place. But when they left, because it's only 4 days, they said there's a couple of things that you need to do, very little things, and this guy was so angry and upset about that. Really? And this guy I could feel would have been the same exact way. Well, they went in and they did this, but they didn't do this, and I didn't get what I wanted, blah, blah, blah. It's not about what you wanted. It's so much more, which we'll get into.
When we do the Recon, and we have the beloved Phil Wills, which it's a perfect guy, I think, one of the perfect guys to bring because he's a no-nonsense guy. We notice immediately that there's a folk guitar and a rock and roll sign. I mean, that it isn't just punk. Like by the way, like it looked better than what he was executing.
Yes.
The bar itself. I mean, if it wasn't so dirty, I like the brick, the blue lighting.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the sign was fine. I mean, but again, for him to just be, no, we're punk, man. It's punk bar. Always gonna be a fucking punk bar. And by the way, there's money behind him. Mm-hmm. That brattiness, and I know the barrescue.com did some due diligence, and apparently he sold a house in Redondo Beach for like $1.8 million, and his partner in the business, which is his mom, which at least is on the license, it seems like also has a house worth like $1.6 million. So I mean, someone's probably been paying for this party, and by the way, that bratty attitude. I mean, I bet you he was pretty spoiled growing up.
It's just sad that the whole bar is revolving around him instead of his consumers. And with that logo and signage, had nothing to do with what they were actually representing.
Right.
They needed to get rid of that. Plus, they had a cocktail sign that was broken and only had the AILS.
Tail.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, come on. You have all this money, right, that you just mentioned that Bar Rescue has listed on their website. These people are obviously well off. You can't even fix one damn sign in your front of the bar.
Well, and you dim those, and then
that's the first impression,
and then
right?
all the repairs in the place. I mean, we see this all the time. But we get some background information. The average person makes about $45,000 a year. The average age is about 30. And John, quickly surmises that you're playing. It's too niche. Too niche of an audience. You can't just go punk. Like, make it a music bar. Now, the bar that I did work at was called TT the Bears in Cambridge. It was a pretty famous rock and roll bar, and we played everything. And that's the way you go. And you can have your like punk night and your punk leanings and all that, but 7 nights a week.
They can split it up. I feel like that's what John would have done if he was to go in and, change it up. But also, I mean, they could have kept the theme with the costumes of whatever the bartenders decide to wear. I mean, they could have kept the identity of the punk, but bring in other types of musicians.
Of course. And, we see... So we got our staff. We have the manager who's been there for 20 years, Deb. We've got Val and April bartenders. Gabe, the lifelong friend who invested like 17
Who's
grand.
an idiot for even being his friend after all this.
I was so ticked off. I mean, seriously, he's spitting in his friend's face every day by doing what he's doing.
I'm sorry. He's representing punk, and he's doing that for everyone.
It's like he took a dollar bill, or not even a dollar bill, a few $100 bills, and he's just tearing it up in front of his friend's face because he didn't even listen to him when he tried to bring him back in and motivate him to get this bar to have its change up. With John, he wasn't listening.
So I love the idea that we bring in the lead, Joe Escalade from lead singer of the Vandals. And so you might know, Dorinda, you might know CBGB's, right?
Yes, I know. I've been to CBGB's.
It's amazing, right? So it's the bar, Gabby, so you know where Blondie, the Ramones, this is where they all broke out in New York. And now John
the police.
I've
heard about it, but I've never.
And John Varvatos bought the bar. It was being, the whole area was being changed, and now he's made it into kind of a museum / place for his clothing, and he does live venues there, but it's more specialty. But he preserved it. And it's
so cool.
But this guy Joe Escalade played CBGB's, not to mention all these other venues. But you can't get any more authentic punk than this guy, and the fact that he tears into him, you and your sweater, and you're not punk, and
so rude.
Because you can tell the
but
minute
also
before
so rude,
that.
so nuts. The guy is legit, and you're not. You're a bum.
Yeah,
Right.
and you can tell the minute before he says that to Joe, he's excited because he's like, "Oh, the Vandals!"
Yeah,
He knew who the Vandals was, so you knew that's probably in his, his repertoire of bands if he's into punk, like he says he is, but. And then he goes right off, you and your sweater. Oh, yeah, he's wearing a sweater, dude. A sweater that you can afford.
Speechless again. And, in my business here at AFTERBUZZ, 'cause we have 250 hosts. And unfortunately, I get these man children and female children, but especially more the man children. And now I'm just like, Phil, get them out. Just get them out of here. I don't care. I don't care how popular they are. I don't care. I'm too old. I can't deal with it. I was in so much pain for John watching him have to deal with this guy. Then I was in more pain to know that this is what's out there in the world. And this is when I always just say to Maria, please, can I just make the gate higher, the fence higher? Please. Please, why
Can we just work from home?
Exactly.
No,
seriously, because for all for all the sweet and wonderful people you meet in the world, there's a Dave. And then the people who are around him. Did you see that? I'm always looking very closely. Did you see the scumbags that were cheering him on? Long Beach.
And then this guy with
no
the teeth.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, that's who you are. And don't act like, you're behind the misfits and the weak. No, these are all addicted people who are dregs of society, and and that's all who will listen to you, rather than the people who are tending bar that were, wanted something better, wanted better lives for themselves, wanted better things for the bar. No, don't listen to them. Then don't listen to John Taffer. What does he know?
He knows nothing.
And he was even insulting the people as they came in. Who are these kooks? Remember, when the Recon people came in. And there's another thing of Bar Rescue updates. One of the resonating negative remarks that was coming in was just how rude and cruel they were to guests. And he's been accused of being homophobic. He's been accused of being
no, wait. Well, first of all, when he said Fruit Loops, I was like, you are a racist, because even though it's a lower form but Fruit Loops, a lot of people call gay people Fruit Loops or fruits and stuff like that. So when he was saying that, I was getting angrier and angrier, because we have a lot of friends that happen to be gay, and I'm like, how dare you? How dare you? That's what you're equating what John's doing to you, what not doing to you, for you, to help you, and that's where you're bringing this to. You have some serious issues, my friend.
I mean, okay, so a lesson in life from Uncle Kev to you to my two little kitties over here. And I tell you guys this all the time, and Dorinda, you kind of listen. Gabby doesn't.
You always say that, Kevin.
Okay.
It's not true.
But as I watch this, there's such a lesson in who you surround yourself with.
Yep.
And this is somebody that is so toxic that you should never, ever, ever. I mean, unless your family's starving, you have to make money. But even then, it's temporarily. Yeah. You do that long enough to get away. But this is a very dark, dark soul. And John's, so negative. I mean, at his best, just this is what you don't want to be around. And by the way, who wanted to be around him? You saw the people. Did you need any more evidence? But I was just cringing on the inside as I was watching this, and I found myself just being angry all over again. It was like 5 years ago watching Pirates.
Yes,
I was that angry. all my anger came right back up. I'm like,
It's like PTSD.
oh my God. And you know what? I really thought that for the sake of good television, they were going to go through with the remodel. And I'm so glad they pulled the plug. And from Bar Rescue updates, they say that Dave had tried to reach back out to them and say, no, come back. But it was too late because they had pulled the plug. And John knew what he was going to do afterwards anyway.
Do we know what he said to John to try to get him back?
No, but I can see where he would have, someone might have said, come on, just suck the guy's ass and let's get $200,000 to $500,000 worth of stuff put in here. Then we'll fuck him over. And John was like, no, I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah, because he knew, because he heard the guy say time and time again what he was going to do when John walked out the door.
By the way, and then even in online research, that said on the show that he had sent harassing messages back to reviewers on the site.
Oh, yes. I know he read one of them, John, on the show.
What did you get? How great was it when at the beginning with the Recon, 3 customers were watching the music?
I put that in my notes because I thought it was that funny. That there were 3 people, including, the manager or the owner or whatever. But I do think, since we're planning on eventually in the fall, you mentioned in the fall doing this crawl,
yes,
that we should go to this one.
We only go there with security, though.
Fine.
Because I've also heard, it's sketchy.
It's sketchy.
They're mean to everybody. Yeah.
Can we get Joe Gear with us?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Joe Gear will come. I trust him.
But I even say, guys, maybe we drive by it and we literally poke our heads in, because again, this is just the kind of dark energy that we don't need to. You know what I mean? I don't need to see it.
It might just be interesting to just go in and see if they've done anything differently.
Nothing. No. Listen, Uncle Kev. Been on the planet a lot longer. They've
Kevin's
done
scared.
nothing. No, you know what? Listen. Okay. First of all,
Kevin, I thought you liked danger a little bit.
Listen.
Living on the edge.
Living on the edge.
If I am scared, right, and I am, but that's just being smart.
We could dress up punk and play the part.
You guys could never. He sees 2 pretty girls like you, you're friggin' done. There's no one's going in that
I'll wear
place.
some dark
and me,
eyeliner.
no matter what, he'll think I'm a narc.
There you go.
But the point is, I also make another thing in life that I see that other people do, like you guys, I'm sure. Even Maria, my fiance, does it. You guys walk into bad situations. I can't tell you how many times Maria will walk into a situation and be completely... it'll just be a horrible situation. I'm like, what did you expect? You walked right into that. So why would I walk us into that? Tell me how we profit from it. I understand, if we go into the other, we can go into the pirates we could go into, because that'd be funny. But no, this is actually not safe. This is a very angry, dark individual. And if you read the reviews, it's nothing but fights, and security just sits by and does nothing. And they're punk, man, that's cool. It's a child who's taken the punk movement and completely twisted it into something else.
Listen, I feel if I was in the situation and I didn't feel right, I would leave. But I think it would be interesting to kind of go... journalism, you like to explore and investigate. It's the same idea.
And once my orb is done, because I've been working on it for years, investing hundreds of thousands of dollars into my orb, where I can
What's your orb?
My orb is this...
You mean your energy?
No, it's my orb. I'm able to get inside the orb and float and travel and go through situations, but I'm impervious to anybody hurting me. And you could throw things at me. It's even bulletproof, but it's just my orb. And so when the orb is done, you guys will all go in the orb together. We'll float into this bar and we'll float out. Okay. But
which means it's not happening.
I see no upside to seeing what I already know. No upside. 0. Done. Nothing. He immediately he doesn't even walk over to John. Okay, which we've everyone usually walks right over, does the handshake, doesn't even walk over to John. So I knew his body language. We were in trouble. And by the end, it's get the fuck out of my bar, and then the Long Beach chant. If we go down punk rock.
Okay, here's something interesting that I noticed, and maybe it was just me, but there was a guy who was very nicely dressed. Definitely, you can tell had money, and he was doing the Long Beach chant, and then they panned to him during the stress test, and he was there. He always seemed to be there.
I don't recall.
Was he not part of our Recon spies?
I saw older guys with glasses. But it's probably, remember, it's a neighborhood bar, and a lot of those neighborhood bars, someone within walking distance, an alcoholic, those are great bars for an alcoholic.
Oh,
just to sit there.
There's always an alcoholic at every local bar.
So you and punk or not, just to be able to sit there and get you. They don't care because they're just being medicated.
Yeah.
We have our dead mouse. We have all different pore spout. By the way, how cool? But okay, on a positive note, how cool was the pore spout from barproducts.com?
Oh, amazing! I wish they would have
Yes.
had that around when I was still bartending.
Right, so you still
that
get the
thing
cap.
Was great.
So now you wouldn't get the fruit flies, but then you come off and you take that off, and by the end of the night, I put all the caps in a jar and then have everyone recap it. But you'd be away from the fruit fly issue.
I have not seen that out yet.
It's amazing.
These
Great invention.
Mainstream, but I think it's an awesome invention.
Yeah, that's a great invention.
Okay, so then we have the stress test. We're gonna ride Dave for the night, and that does no good because he can't be bothered with much of anything.
Oh, wait, you know what we didn't cover? Maybe
What?
it's going to be what you were going to say. When they were in training before the stress test, they were talking about overpouring.
Yes.
Or that might
Yes.
have been even after the stress test.
No,
but
it was after. No, it was
It
after.
was after?
It's after. It's when
Okay.
we
Should
when
we
we
wait?
we did when we did the when they do the second more higher end training. Yeah.
Okay, I'll wait to give my comments on that.
I'm not a bartender, so don't be dicks about it. That's what he tells.
Get back on your plane.
Yeah.
Get back on. He just kept saying so. He has a thing about planes.
And then he said, customers never pour in all at once. Anyway, shithead at a music bar, that's all they do. You have a line around the block for a music venue and everybody pours in. So if you have a great venue and then you attract great acts and those acts have followings, but nope. No.
Because he's right.
By the way, great again, shout out to John and Bar Rescue for, even though the episode was frustrating and we didn't get to see a remodel, we also got education on acoustics.
Yes,
that was
which
really
was
cool.
Awesome.
About how foam, will 25% will vibrate out
And
rather than
I love
90%.
the animation.
Yeah.
And then you can see the people with their hands over their ears
Yeah.
going like this.
That was hysterical.
I rewound it and kept watching it.
And he loved it. Did you see when the music came out? It was the only time he lit up. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There was a pod buster. That's the
Interstitial.
yeah. So the commercial break. I don't know if you guys saw it, where he was like, John goes, every sign in this place says no this, no that, no that, and no stupid people here. And then John said, but wait, how can you say that when you're the dumbest one of all? So
Dumb.
John says, listen, we're going to have a long remodel. And it was great because I love when John puts on the blue hat and goes to work with the crew. And so I was like, I don't know why, you guys. I think because I just know his knowledge of rock and roll, the fact that he cut his teeth in the Troubadour here in Hollywood.
Which is
I was
amazing
right.
venue.
I
love
was
that
there
venue.
a couple weeks ago watching Rita Wilson and Tom Hanks perform. Rita Wilson performing whatever, the whole Greek mafia was there, and I remember looking around going, wow, John helped build this. This is freaking cool. For the guy Doug Weston, who's no longer here, but John was like that was like John's mentor. And I was getting so excited when I saw them, like, cleaning out the stage and this and that, and hanging and the big giant DJ lights were being hung, and I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna be sick. And sure enough, we go to training at Alex's bar, and that's where he's making fun of the drinks. He's doing long pours because we just pour hard stuff.
Yeah, and I like to what is it? I like to
He likes to overpour because
overpour, that's it.
I think he said that he wouldn't go back to a bar if they didn't overpour for him.
And the irony, kids, is that Bar Rescue updates, 3 or 4 of the complaints was that the drinks were all watered down.
Isn't that hysterical?
How about that? How about that? It's funny. That's what he said. John said, punk has an edge, but they're not assholes.
Yep.
And so, of course, he's making fun of the food he drinks. And it's like, go home, get out of here. And him and the crew try to talk, and it's like the crew tries to talk him out of it. And I want to ask John and the co-EP of the show, Katie Dierks, I want to ask her what happened. But I have a funny feeling they still tried to get John back, but it was too late. Once he started pulling up the tents and the stakes, I think it was done.
Oh no! The moment, because they were in it. It wasn't like they hadn't started work yet. Like they were in it and they were working.
Right.
So this guy, if he could have kept his mouth shut, that's all he had to do. Keep your mouth shut. But he's that much of an idiot because he was so ego-driven.
And stubborn.
And stubborn, ego-driven. With ego, there comes narcissism. He just wasn't getting it.
No.
You could have had an amazing, amazing bar with lights, with everything, state of the art. Even if you wanted to do punk 2 nights a week and then like an acoustic night, which actually brings people in, or just a rock band night, or whatever you wanted to do. But this idiot could not keep his mouth shut. Had the nerve to tell John Taffer he did not know what he was doing.
Yeah, which we've heard before.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say this, guys. Top 5 villain from Bar Rescue history?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have, I mean, I don't want to put everyone to task on that. We have O-Face. We have Cockroach Man.
Pirates.
Pirates is not a villain.
I mean, I have love for her, but she is somewhat, when they burned him in effigy, that's why.
Oh, you're right.
They burned him in effigy.
You're right. So she's villain maybe with an asterisk because she's since been redeemed.
Yes, she's redeemable.
She's been redeemed. I still say the one that Nicole Taffer did at the very beginning, the Canyon Inn.
Something happened with that dude. I just read it a few weeks ago. I gotta go look it up. He got arrested or something.
Hey, Marissa, will you look up owner of Canyon Inn from Bar Rescue?
One of those guys got arrested.
I think, no, you think of the guy from the IRS. There was another bar. I think we talked about it last week.
Oh, okay. I don't know. But somebody who was on Bar Rescue just got arrested.
Yes, it was the IRS. He was a defraud. It was I think it was a sports bar up and he wasn't paying his taxes. But
only bar in Yorba Linda, California?
Yes.
You looking for the name of the owner?
Well, what anything going on there, Stephen, for the Canyon Inn?
Got arrested, the owner.
From dingy to no, I just see.
Okay,
what's
then
it
you're
say?
probably
What's it say though?
It's an article from September 2011.
A long time ago,
yeah.
Gotcha. But yeah, I have to say that this is he's up there. He's an all-time villain. It's funny. Katie Dirks has some other villains from behind the scenes. I'd love to get her to share. There was a couple guys that were like, no, just total liars, total sociopaths, and we know who they are.
Yeah.
But I'm having a brain freeze. But you would know if you said, oh yeah, that he reminded me he was a bad guy. But this was a bad guy.
And the funny thing about this guy is that all his frustrations, or like the things that we were upset, he was doing to everybody, he's taking out his anger on John, but that's just a reflection of who he is. Those are all those things he mentions about John is what he has issues with. He's talking about himself.
Guys, in life, ego. Ego just kills so many people. So many people are ruled by their egos, and you have to try. At least ask yourself in situations: is this my ego ruling this situation? Or even that's why if you have good friends around you, or you have good healthy people around you, they'll tell you, listen. We were talking. We have a mutual star friend. And we were talking earlier today. It's like, but both of us will give her honest advice, and it's not pleasant, and it's not sweet, but it's true, and it is helpful. And then it's up to that person to listen, and she does. But this is such a lesson in ego, and we see ego, how much it rules the Bar Rescue owners, especially the bad ones. And by the way, ego can be a good thing because it can drive you to do great things, but. Man, this was really aggravating to watch. So entertaining, but I'm yelling at the TV. I'm like, I totally went back. I was in a time capsule on this one.
Did you guys think that John was about to shed a tear? Because when he had to go back and tell his entire crew to stop working, they weren't going to remodel this place because they were ungrateful. It really looked like he was really upset.
He was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You could see it in his face.
It was very sad, and he never wants to leave a place.
No.
Undone
because it feels like failure. Probably.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right. And because he feels like I'm a failure too. Because I wasn't able to get this bar and this person rescued.
Right.
And that's the sad part. And I feel for him because it's more of a defeat for him too.
Right.
Because if he can't help, John is all about helping people. We know this. We've talked to him, and through doing all these shows, everything he does comes where his ego is driven by the heart and helping. and that's where his success comes. And by not being able to help these people, because he couldn't do it for this guy, he couldn't even do it for the employees, because the way he even spoke to the employees, because like, you've been bartending for like 50 years. I know, I get it. I was like, how dare you talk to your
brutal.
employees?
He was
like
brutal.
that?
And again, it's like you just wish you could free them.
Oh, and I didn't want to backtrack, but remember when we were going to talk about the overpouring stuff?
Oh yeah.
So that's illegal to overpour in a bar. You know
very
that, right? Like,
Yeah.
I know
Get
at
in
least
trouble.
for us doing stuff like that,
It
if like
is.
the ABC's there or whoever is monitoring that stuff, like, you can get a fine. Or in other kinds of trouble. So it's funny that he straight up just
can
said
lose
we
your liquor
liquor in
license.
the bar. Yeah, you can lose your liquor license
Yep.
over this kind of stuff.
Yep.
It's crazy. He really had nothing stopping him.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Just stay away. That's my thing. 2 words. Stay away. That's in life. The lesson of this is ego, and don't be ruled by your ego. And then for outsiders, when you're confronted with people like this, stay away. Gabby.
Always going to be like this.
I have great friends around me.
Oh, sure
Dorinda,
you do.
are also one of them.
I know, yeah, you do.
So
You
I do have
You
really
do.
amazing people in my
Keep
life.
them away. Keep the man children away, especially.
Keep the vampires away,
And
right?
yes, as we
Yes,
say, energy
vampires.
vampires. Next week I just saw a pretty blonde girl and a guy with his mistress's kids. That's all that was thrown around. So
Yeah, it was
wasn't
very
really.
short.
It was short,
Yes.
but it looks good. I think we're gonna have some fun next week.
Definitely not a cuckoo.
Not a wackadoodle.
Wackadoodle, that's what it is.
This was a
We might have
wackadoodle.
some angry
I feel
women
like-
on the panel with mistresses and wives, but hey, it's
You
going to
know
be
what?
fun.
Listen, it happens. It's funny because I did get a bunch of tweets saying, you're going to love tonight's episode. The wackadoodles are back. It was, but it was evil wackadoodle.
And they are. Ooh, and the one thing I wanted to mention before we're done, I noticed that everyone who worked for him, even his friends and everyone, they're like, "Oh, that's Dave. That's Dave." Like
Yeah.
the enablers.
I just love
that's
the-
what's
yeah, the-
even worse.
the-
They were
Yeah.
enablers.
The free pass you always get.
Very true.
Yeah. God, I never got that in life. I wish people would have done that. Oh, that's Kevin. Ha ha ha. But I used to know people like that too. Back in my civilian days, where I had Daves in my life, and everyone gave them a pass because that's Dave. And you know what? Yeah, that's Dave. And guess what, Dave? Bye. you be Dave as far away from me as possible. All right, you guys, where do I find you?
You can find me at Twitter at Lula Cherry Films and on Instagram at Dorinda B1.
You guys can find me on Instagram at Gabby.Loren and Twitter at Gabrielle_Loren and Periscope at Gabrielle Loren. And Kevin, what about you?
At Undergaro. And you guys, please go to iTunes, rate and comment on tonight's episode, or go to YouTube and comment and ask us your questions. You know, we're always good about answering them. We'll be back next week for another bar rescue.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.